Hi, everyone. It's Psychic Medium Jojo Empathic here. I'm just about on time today, so just running a little bit late. I actually forgot that I'm going live today here. Excuse me, just got done with a long walk. Today's message is on radical self-love and radical self-acceptance. So maybe I'll just give it a few moments to see if anybody's going to join us. Let me catch my breath here. So let's see. So I just got done with a walk. I currently, um, I recently started a second business. It's a cleaning business. It's kind of transforming into more of like subcontracting, I'm thinking, and it's the direction I'm going. I'm going to start my timer. And so one of my clients has turned into one of my good friends and has about 13 different Airbnbs. And so I actually help clean and live in the 13 different homes. So that's why you see a basketball hoop behind me, and sometimes it's different like backgrounds. My friend is a really good basketball player. He played for TCU. So some of the homes have some basketball, whatever those things are called, hoops in them. Um, But yeah, I think that's a good intro to radical self love and self acceptance. To be honest, I manifested 13 different homes. I've got like almost 10 different pools. I'm in what we call like rooftop house. So every house and apartment has a different name. And this is actually an apartment you can rent if you are coming to the Dallas area, specifically like Frisco, McKinney, Little Elm. Hit me up and I can give you my friend's information. But this location is called Rooftop because there's a rooftop pool, which is really nice. So I went from actually being homeless to having 13 different homes, like literally 10 different pools, beautiful bathtubs. How did I do that? And I think, like I said, this is a great intro to radical self love and acceptance. We're often told to hide the parts of ourselves that we may call our shadow, right? I went through a dark period of my life, being homeless, sleeping in public. That was awful. Um, am I supposed to just shh and don't talk about it? Or can I grow through that darkness and find self-love and acceptance for myself? So I've chose the path of radical self-love and acceptance, even the dark times of my life, even the hard times, the things that maybe society may want to shame me about or say, you deserve that. You're living in sin. So, of course, bad things are going to happen to you. Um, I fight through that and I choose to be what you may call like an alchemist. Sometimes they call it black magic. It's not, so slow down here because sometimes people be like, oh, black magic, it's dark and it can be very dark. And some people are black magicians and they do harm towards others with, dark energy. But I would actually recommend you perhaps look into chaos magic. Chaos magic is basically like taking the darkness in your life and turning it into light, which I would claim is actually a purpose to coming to Earth with the duality that we face here. If you can, through your darkness, through your illnesses, through your poverty, through your pain, take your story and use it to do better for yourself and others, that's when you begin to win and graduate in life's schoolhouse. That's when you get to the next level. And of course, when you get to that next level, there's a new level, right? There's going to be more challenges because this is literally a classroom. So, with radical self love and acceptance, you own your story. You own it. You own the good and you own the bad, and you hold your head high and you love yourself. And you find the purpose in the struggles that you've gone through and you alchemize it and transmute it higher. So, in alchemy or the laws of the universe, energy never dies. You never die. I never die. We're not going to die. The body of flesh does, but we're eternal. And that's the same for energy. Okay. So energy never dies. So perhaps take the darkness and transmute it higher. That's when we start to make wins, when you can transmute it. You're changing it. So the old alchemists, they weren't necessarily taking lead to and turning it to gold. I mean, some were, but it's more so a metaphor, symbology for life. You're going to face dark times. You're going to feel pressure. You're going to experience pain on earth. But I want to break down suffering. Go check out my other video on YouTube. I just put out, what was it, last week? And it was on initiation versus consequence. Through religious indoctrination, we believe that God wants us to suffer, like Jesus on the cross, right? Time out. If Jesus was a mystic, out of body experiences are very real for mystics. And so that's one way to transcend the third dimensional reality and the third dimensional temporal body. So I believe that Jesus actually was able to out of body in that situation and not feel pain. Okay. If he was even really in it, which I don't honestly believe he was. I believe he went on and lived, to be honest with you. But like, if you think about women that have orgasmic births and they're orgasming as they're giving birth through the pain, once you reach levels and heights of spiritual development, you begin to transcend the third dimensional body. And so another way of looking at childbirth, which is really painful for every woman, is to get out of body when you give birth. So some women will get out of body at the most extreme point of pain in childbirth, and they don't feel pain in childbirth, and then they come back in. That's a mystic's journey. It's a way of I wouldn't say avoiding pain, but it's also a way of transmuting pain, okay, beyond the third dimensional body construct. So when you are experiencing suffering, this is what I talked about in my previous video. I'll link it in this box after, description box after. When you are experiencing suffering, because we are interdependent creatures as humans, the solution from the higher power is for you to seek support. So if suffering is a chronic state, a prolonged state of pain. So if you are suffering, the answer is to find and seek support. So for some people, you have a headache, you seek support from medicine, right? You take maybe some Tylenol, the headache goes away. Maybe you're spiritual, you go ground, the headache goes away. You send white light in, or Reiki, headache goes. Whatever you do, you seek support in some way. So you seek assistance, you seek remedy. A lot of times we stay in a chronic state of suffering because the answer and solution is going to someone else and asking for help. Okay, we feel like we don't have anyone else that can help us. We don't know where else to go. We don't know what else to do. But if you are, again, in this state, that's the direction you want to start going towards, is bringing a solution to your suffering and pain, bringing a remedy to it. And you will transcend the situation that you're in temporarily. Now, when that situation is done, maybe that's perhaps the time. So you were just getting through like a disease or something. You cured it. So maybe the next step for you is to take that darkness, that horrific time for you, the painful time of your suffering, and write about it. Share your story. Like me, writing a book on homelessness. It didn't just come out of nowhere, or a download from angels, because that would be typical for someone like me. It came from my own walk. It came from my own suffering, my own pain. And through my pain, I said, you know what? It's up to me to allow this to break me. Because let me tell you about homelessness, it breaks you. It breaks you. Hunger pains break you. Your whole nervous system is out of whack and dysregulated. It's a different type of living. Now, fortunately for me, my homelessness was not like a lot of people that stay in that chronic state. I was fortunate in homelessness. I felt maybe there was a reason I was there, like purpose. Like I really did. I didn't feel like, God, made me go there. I think I could have learned maybe another way, but at the same time, it felt destined. And if you were to look at the stars for my signs, there is a lot of like home instability for Aquarius and Scorpio rising, even Leo, in change of homes a lot in the past few years since like 2018, and that's right on for me, to the point of where also another way that I've transmuted homelessness is to realize that I'm nomadic. I've always lived between New York State and Texas, and then plenty of other states too. I've lived in Arkansas, California, Ohio. I'm nomadic. And so one of the ways that I found like radical self acceptance was to be like, in this situation, how can I improve? Living in apartments in these times where there's an accumulation of negative energy doesn't work for me. And I need a solution. It helped me to find me, to know, okay, the next thing on my to-do list is to manifest homes. I think my time in apartments is over. I've tried apartment after apartment after apartment after apartment, and every time I end up feeling like this is like, I feel like what I would say is like an orca at SeaWorld. Okay. I don't want to go down that plane because that's dark. I don't like SeaWorld at all. I don't like orcas at SeaWorld. That's how I felt in my little apartment. I'm like, I need more freedom of space. So that's how I found radical self acceptance through dark times, if you're following me. I found myself, my true self. I said, I'm nomadic. I need to maybe start doing pop ups with my business. Maybe I'll, go live in Australia for a little bit. Maybe I'll go live in New York for a little bit. Maybe I'll go live in the islands for a little bit. Maybe I'll be back in Texas for a little bit. But everything in society will tell you that's unstable, okay? And maybe there is little bits of instability in there, fine. But the reality is, until I began to accept that part of myself, then the stability comes afterwards. When you find really who you are and you start accepting yourself, that's when things start to put, like the puzzle starts to fit, okay? So now I feel more rested living in different homes. Now I live in beautiful 3-bedroom homes with backyards, and I don't have an apartment over me that's like neighbors and people depressed and anxious all around me. And yeah, I live in some apartments, and I get involved. It's like I'm like, oh, because I know next door what they're doing to that dog, I can't stand it. And oh my God, they're fighting over here, and I just want to intervene. So it's like. But I don't have to be here for too long, so I can live where I want. And so that has been something that has made my life a lot more happy. I feel more peace. I feel more freedom. And it also has brought me into a second business, so another stream of income, which, in these days is beneficial. And I would say that in any days, in any career, you want to have multiple streams of income. Okay. So I know I'm a female. I'm in my feminine, and it's really kind of, it's more of a dominant or masculine energy trait to be an entrepreneur and have like work, 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 right? But the reality is, for women, we thrive in business. So it's actually helped me to anchor more into my femininity because I have more freedom. Okay, I have more freedom now. I can rest more. I can put my feet up more. I have support with one of my best friends now, who helps to support me in different ways, like through conversations and friendship. And we live separately, but these are our homes. So that has been healing for me. The togetherness. Something so dark turned into something so beautiful. And what's interesting about my friend is that what we bonded over really quickly when we first met, when I was running from him, and I kind of pitched this offer, and we clicked because over homelessness, and he could relate to homelessness, and he said he wanted to write a book called The Millionaire Homeless Man or something like that. Don't quote me. But I just love that, because that's exactly what we both are about, is like not being afraid of like the truth, not trying to hide the truth, and being real to ourselves selves and turning something that's dark into light. Okay? That's what I'm preaching today. Don't be ashamed of your story. Own it. And through your darkness, you have to say, where can there be an adjustment? How can I grow? How can I evolve from this dark place and do better? Then, once you master those lessons, you go out and give it to other people. That's the purpose of life. We're not here just to hustle. This cup is cute. My grandma, Mimi, she used to say, give me some sugar. Give me some sugar. So this, whenever I drink out of this cup, I think of my beloved Mimi. And what's crazy is I know she's around because I went to go pick up from the print shop today some copies of my old copies of my book. My book has changed. I'm going to talk about that later. But the lady, one of my clients at the print house, her name is Mimi. Okay, so my grandma Mimi, she's all around right now. Love it. But what I'm saying is, through the darkness, dear one, you have to find the lessons of the journey and do better. So what else during my period of homelessness that there was a time when I was homeless, and the objective or the lesson for me was to get out of hyper independence. Me as a woman, a lot of intelligent people are alone. If you didn't know that, a lot of intelligent people are very alone. A lot of sensitive people are alone. And through my healing journey, I had ascended past sacred isolation. And I knew it. Probably when I got into my business, I started to realize it's time for, I've done my healing journey. It's time to get out of this and start dating and, meeting maybe new women. But I didn't. And so if you have a lesson, or if spirit tells you something, hey, Jojo, it's time to stop being so hyper independent, make friends, heal old relationships, start going out there and putting yourself out there. If you don't, you'll be humbled. And I was. And that's how I ended up in homelessness. Homelessness brought me to a place where I had to reach out for help. I kind of consider it like this. If you know Scorpios or Scorpio rising, the scorpion will kill itself before you do. If you're a scorpion woman, you might fight to the end. And I call my journey, I was in quicksand, up to my neck in quicksand, and then I surrendered. I was brought to my absolute breaking point before I reached out for help. And what's so interesting is I remember one time when I was sleeping in public and I said, you know what, I just can't do this another night. And I reached out to someone I love for some help. And after that, it was like I graduated the lesson. Because once I did that, made that choice, that decision, money started to pour in for me. It was, I released the resistance. I was resisting, no, I'm not a victim to my poverty or struggle or the money not flowing in. I was resisting it. I was blocking it. The lesson from spirit was to connect with other people. And I said, no, we are interdependent creatures. We should start thinking about the well-being of one another and caring for one another again. That's what brings us into unity. So once I did that, then it was like things kind of got back to normal. But before, because I was so hyper independent, so in my masculine, I was resisting and the money wasn't flowing. And if you've ever been an entrepreneur, you understand, sometimes you sacrifice it all for your business or businesses, and sometimes you're out, if you don't have the help or you don't have the credit or whatever. And that's exactly what happened to me. So through your darkness, you have to see what the lessons you're supposed to be learning are, and then you switch. Then the universe is always there. You can't hide from the universe. Universe is the table that you're sitting on, the bench, everything, and the universe sees. This is what December, Christmas is around the corner, so Santa Claus always knows when, naughty or nice. It's always listening, always watching, and so it's a covenant, your life, between you and spirit. So understand the lessons in the darkness that you're going through. Don't shame yourself. Don't try to hide it. Be real. And that's how you find radical self-love and acceptance. And a lot of times we feel guilt, we feel shame for the darkness we go through, the hunger pains, the a lot of people deal with illnesses. And, you know, I think a lot of times when we go through something like a serious or chronic illness, many people will begin to feel wrong. They feel like they're being punished. They feel like maybe they made a wrong move, and we start getting really dark in our mind. You can't let that happen. You have to ask spirit, excuse me. When I channel, I get burpy if you're new here. Sometimes I get a little burpy when I channel. You have to ask spirit, why am I going through this illness? Why am I going through this dark time? What can I do to better myself? What did I miss? Give me a timeline. How long do I have to turn this around? Am I, you need to know what phases of, you might call it, first thing I think of is like, I was taught it's called breaking of the legs phase of spiritual development, to where spirit told you once, spirit told you twice, spirit, can't keep telling you and telling you and telling you and telling you. Then spirit isn't a good teacher. Then spirit's enabling you. You have free will. It's up to you to do those things that spirit calls you to do. And if you don't, we tend to face a consequence. Okay. And then there's levels to the consequence. In the first part of the consequence, usually you can reverse things quickly. If we've been in a chronic state of just ignoring spirit, ignoring our guides, ignoring our angels, ignoring ourself, turning from self, not loving self, you get into a darker phase of the consequences of not listening to spirit. So you need to know what phase you're in. Okay, are you in the beginning phases? Is there still time? Or, sometimes when you get into breaking of the legs, sometimes people never get out. They don't have the awareness that their consequences brought them there, that their choices brought them there. Now, usually for us, if you have awareness and, it's everything is on fire and the bridge is burning down, you say, okay, I messed up here. I should have, I could have, and now I will. Then you start to reverse yourself out of the consequences that you're living in. So you have to ask your spirit team, your angels, your higher mind about timeline. It's super important for you to know. Okay. And then you can start to begin to develop an understanding of, what got you there and how you're going to resolve it. And then you begin to master these lessons in your life and your soul's purpose. And through that, if you can choose to love yourself through it, you will get to the other side in a higher place, and then you can give it out to others, all of those lessons. If not, what tends to happen is we beat ourselves up, we punish ourselves, and we hate ourselves through these dark times. And then we also will surrender our power to someone else. Someone help me, to the point of do this for me. Tell me what to do. This is where your ability to connect with spirit is also important, because what will happen is, just water today. I was just walking if you tuned in late. What happens is, in these moments of despair, you can sometimes feel helpless. You can sometimes feel like there's no hope. And this is where the battle gets strong, okay? This is where it gets really intense, because you'll sometimes at this point, this is where we're just like, well, we run backwards, okay? Somebody told you not to live this way, but you know in your heart this is the way to live, okay? And through that interaction with your family, you begin to develop these abandonment wounds or rejection wounds or feeling unworthy. And in that moment of despair, you might want to run back to that person who is low key persuading or leading you to turn against yourself. That's what tends to happen with people, and we go backwards. So you don't want to do that. In these moments of darkness, complete and utter desolation, I think of like the homeless situation. It's an epidemic right now. People are living in their cars and cold and hungry. Disease is another epidemic, on so many different scales. So we have a lot of people with disease issues, financial issues, homelessness. What else? The world, a lot of people are in places of war right now. People are facing immigration and deportation. Okay. These are the big things that we are facing right now: divorce and breaking up in the homes, and relationships ending that are very intimate. Whatever you're going through, we all go through stuff. We all do. Nobody's perfect. You want to be mindful to not run back to like the environments that made you sick to begin with. When you are quantum shifting, there is a period of like nothingness. Like there's a period of where it's like, you say to the universe, I want more. I want to take my business from like 50K to a year to 100K a year. Let's just say you have a business and you want to do that. There might be a period of like money's not coming at all. You have nothing coming in, okay? You don't want to look at the third dimensional. You want to trust that your visualization, your manifestation's on its way. It already exists in your quantum field. And you don't want to be discouraged if the sign is not there. You want to trust. You want to have faith in these moments, okay? So don't be discouraged if things are not immediate. There is a period of like quantum lapse in the time with your manifestation. So what I'm saying here is don't run back to the same environments that made you sick because you're on your ass, okay? Don't. Find another way. Ask for it to be revealed to you. Close your eyes and ask your higher mind to just show you. Like, say you're in a situation of living in your car right now. Close your eyes, breathe, and ask your higher mind, show me what it looks like on the other side of this. Another thing you can do is you can let your mind just be limitless. So say you're in your car right now and you're hungry. And you want to start with something simple and then something limitless. So maybe you could sit there and visualize yourself eating whatever food you want to eat right now. You don't know how you're going to get it, but just start visualizing it. That's one thing to do. And also, you could say, I will never be in this situation again. I want to visualize myself with $1 million cash in my bathroom, my bathtub, whatever. Okay, visualize that too and trust it's coming to you and trust the universe is aligning for you to help you get there. A lot of you are going through dark situations because you're going higher. Okay, it's an initiation in a sense. It's like you said from your heart you want better, you want to do more, you would like this bigger opportunity to fall into your lap. And so everything collapses before it gets bigger. Things fall apart and break down before you break through. That's very true in quantum mechanics. So don't go back. Find the radical self-acceptance for the situation. Bring yourself into the present moment and start to think differently. Change your mind. Tap into your third eye. Tap into your heart space. Get into visualization. Believe it as if it's already done. The universe is working with you. And also, anyone going through a dark situation right now, call in your angels to help assist you. Call in your angels to help show you the way. Call in your angels to help give you the empowerment, the healing that you need in order to heal the illness, to show you maybe the doctor to go to, the healer to go to, the Reiki practitioner to get the session. Your angels can help you. They will guide you, okay? But you have to ask. Ask and you shall receive. So you're not alone, you're supported, and you are so powerful in your situation. Now, again, we're learning now to accept where we are, okay? In the moment, you're sitting in the hospital bed and you're pissed off. You're pissed off that you have the disease. You're angry. And I feel for you because when we go through these dark times, we do get angry with God. Be real. That is what radical self-love and acceptance is about. It's about being real. I want you to write a letter to God in that moment where you feel angry and say, God, I hate you. I'm so pissed off at you. I was called here and you brought me into the valley of darkness. I sacrificed everything and now I have this disease and I'm in the bed and I'm pissed off and I'm angry and I trusted you. I want you to get it all out on the paper. I want you to say to God how you really feel, or the universe or spirit. Untapped. You're allowed to. And that'll help you to see the resistance. It'll help you to see yourself. It'll help you to check in with you and bring you into the present moment of where you really are. So in the midst of the disease and you're angry at God and you're saying it to God, you tell God, I'm effing pissed at you for that I've, followed you and I have this disease. Be real. Okay? And from there you'll feel a shift. You do. When you are honest with yourself, when you are accepting of how you feel, you're not disowning, you're not rejecting a part of you, you are just being present with it. This is where you begin to heal. This is when you begin to quantum leap. This is when you begin to shift your reality. This is the state I want to help you to get to in the present moment. This is now you're living. Now you're really living through it. And that's how we find radical self-acceptance. Okay, we untap. I mean, we don't put a cap on our relationship with spirit. If you were to have, like, you and your boyfriend were to go fight, and it meant being ding, 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 ding. Okay, it's the same with you and God. Just be real with God. I want to encourage you to have that type of relationship because God still loves you. God's not going to put you in hell if you say, "Oh, you know what, God, F this." I know a lot of people that go through serious grief, like the loss of a child, and they say, God, I hate you. Like, why would you do this to me? I don't want to live anymore. I mean, it gets really dark for people in certain situations. People at war, I couldn't imagine. That's why, like, when you see people at war and they're still praising God, it's like, wow, that is deep. Because a lot of us get really angry and hateful. And what I'm here to say is this is kind of radical, but own it. Own it. When you start to disown, reject, and suppress the parts of you in which you are, you begin to have illness. You begin to suffer. You begin to have pain. That's not the way we're supposed to live. I want to also bring up something that is between kind of men and women, radical acceptance of one another. A lot of men and women right now are struggling. I talk a lot about this on my YouTube and now Instagram. We don't understand one another, and we've never seen the healthy masculine or the healthy feminine. We've never seen it. So we don't really know how to interact with each other and care for one another. I've noticed in the MAGA movement, okay? This is where I see it. Come for me. I see it. A lot of the men that resonated with MAGA, I say resonated because a lot of them have changed their mind, but that still do, still holding on to the cruelty. They're not that hungry yet. They haven't lost their homes yet. It's coming. Deep down, they really hold traditional values. And it's different from, like, I think when we think of a normal trad wife, who's the glamorous ones in today's world? Ballerina Farm. I love her. I love Hannah. Like, what she represents to me is so beautiful. But I want to say something. She's not what I would think a trad wife is. If we really start throwing this title around, she's not a trad wife. She's a boss babe. She is a boss babe. Now, she cooks for her kids homemade. They're disconnected from the outside world in a sense. Fine. You can call that trad wife. When I think of trad wife, it's really a subservient woman that doesn't really have a voice, that's just sitting at home behind her husband. And if he says, we got to go follow Donald Trump, she doesn't even feel like she wants to. She tells the kids we got to because dad says, and don't question him. That's what I think of this old traditional, like, trad wife view is. She's very subservient. She's very quiet. She's very timid. He's just running the show and she's not questioning him. Ballerina Farm Hannah, she's not like that. She has a voice. She's out here doing it. I know she was like in pageants, so she's, she was of service in some way, and she stands for something and she has a voice. So I wouldn't call her a trad wife. Fellas, here's the thing about that. We are not your slaves. When we want women to just be subservient to men, we end up being in a slave master relationship. Women will naturally be submissive if they feel safe. So that's the objective. We don't feel safe when we're being oppressed, when we're being disowned, when we're being, when our voices and the things we want to do are, they're suppressed. That's when we get really angry. Most women will begin to go into survival state. When a woman is in survival state, this is when she gets into her masculine. This is when she gets into the warrior archetypal energy. And ladies have a warrior, especially if they're wild women, they will fight for theirs, okay? And that's healthy. But women are told to repress this part of themselves. But here's the truth. The situation is survival. So if a man's in survival state, what's he going to do? He's going to get in his warrior and he's going to fight, right? And that's praised. Here's the truth. Men and women are equal. I'm sorry. They are. We are. And we both, when we come together, bring something beautiful to the table. We're different creatures. We're different creatures. But we both can bring so much to a table. So here's the thing. Women want more of a positive ownership, meaning I'm going to take this as my own. I'm going to make sure she's okay. I'm going to take care of her well-being, and I'm going to provide security for her. And that means emotionally, physically, mentally, in all levels. So if you want to contain the woman, you have to understand the woman. So if a woman's fighting you, usually it's her nervous system. She's in chronic survival mode. So if for all the fellas out there saying, oh, women, it's just her time of the month. Women are like that. I hear it all the time, especially me with me, and I talk, and so men say, men don't like women that talk like that. I say, toxic men don't. Toxic men don't. And if you were healthy, you would have, this wouldn't be out. This part of me that has to fight wouldn't be out. I don't disown who I am. Not one part of me. I own it. And I love it. I love that I'm a warrior. I tend to call it giving people's ass back to them. And half the time they deserve it. And you can call me mean, and that's fine. Because we tend to say men can give people's ass back to them, and they say, go ahead, man. But when a woman does, she's angry. I'm not an angry person. I'm like probably one of the most happy people I know. Like I'm so happy most of the time. Most of the time. But I'm going to be real. There's a part of me that is a warrior wild woman, and I will win. I will survive. Okay, if we get to the primal instinct, I will defend. So part of radical self-acceptance and love is to understand that you have multiple parts of yourself. And regardless if society says women shouldn't be angry, you have to understand that women can be angry. We can be really good warriors. We have the warrior archetypal energy. Own it. Here's another part to it. And make sure when you're in an environment or relationship with people, you don't have to bring the warrior out all the time. When healthy men and conscious men are containing you, she's more of the she'll submit. Okay, I can trust this man, can lead me. I can put my life in his hands and focus over here on the kids or the business over here because he's got me in this way. Fellas, that's when she submits to you. You cannot just try to own women like slaves and tell them to hush their mouth, okay? That's slavery. That's the old patriarchal system, and it's dying out, okay? If you want to rise with the women, You give us positive ownership, radical self-acceptance. That's of another person. But for ladies, I'm saying here to love you, even the part of you that is going ape shit because you found out your man's MAGA. Okay. And that can be very real for people right now. And I don't blame people because racism, it brings another side of me out. And I would never disown that part of myself ever. I love that part of me because I will fight, period. I will. So the things that like society are saying, like angry women, okay, I'm not an angry woman. There's a part of me. You have to still own that part of you. You have to still love that part of you. And you have to know that that part of you comes out when racism gets brought up. So then maybe don't go around racist people. It's easy as that. Because that might never change if you feel me on that, you know? You can go to years and years of therapy. I might be in my 80s maybe one day and say, oh, racism, you know, maybe I'll be in a different place there and transcend it. But more likely it may, you know, bring me out of my character a bit or make me feel sad or make me feel angry. Radical self acceptance and love. Okay. Know the parts of you and own the parts of you. And understand also when the parts of you come out, and that a lot of times it's your nervous system. So if you're dysregulated, a lot of women, they're with men that are really unconscious, and she's working 4 jobs to take care of the kids. He's tied to a religion, so he's in the matrix, in a religious matrix, right? And he's also tied to, you know, a job that's like a 9 to 5 that he doesn't like. So he's in that financial matrix. And then all of the people and men around him are in that same type of, you know, victim mindset, or, you know, that women need to take care of him, and, or, you know, women just need to be subservient to him. A lot of times, they're you know, in this state, and they stay there by being around people that think like them, and it enables it. So fellas, if you're listening to this and that may sound like you, then you're trying to find love for yourself, or within your relationship some sort of acceptance. It's about tapping into your third eye. When you tap into your third eye, it helps you to be more authentic. It helps you to find yourself, and also to have a clearer perception and discernment of everything around you. A lot of men right now, I feel, are really struggling because they're not plugged into their third eye. They're not plugged into their higher mind, and they're trapped in these different matrices. There's tons of different constructs here. There's the money, there's financial matrix, there's, you know, the medical matrix, there's the education matrix, all these matrices. These men are in it, and a lot of times the religious matrix will keep them from going into their third eye. So they're very emasculated and feeling disempowered. And in that state, that's why a lot of them are broke. That's why a lot of them are hurting and struggling right now and confused, and going around other men that say that's just how women are. You know, she's on her period. You know, no, that's not true. So just like the woman is going ape shit on you because she's in survival and warrior part of her, mainly because if you're her partner, you're partially responsible. The same thing goes for you. You need to find radical self-love for yourself and acceptance outside of these matrices. All of these matrices have these layers to you, and you're operating through a part of you that's wounded. You're operating through a part of you that's not even your true you. Is that a possession? I'd say yes. Okay, so real possession is very, very common right now. Everywhere you look outside, most people have spiritual attachments and possessions. Not typically demonic. Some dark entities, yes. The bigger the contract, the bigger the fight, you could say. You know, dark entities don't really want to go after, like, let's say the trad wife who's submissive and not using her voice and doing anything really to stand up for anything or anyone. Darkness doesn't care about that or her. Darkness comes after the people with the bigger contracts that are out using their voice. So yeah, a lot of people on the street do have dark entities. But majority are like earthbound spirits, And I'd say even further is a lot of people are possessed by the unwounded parts of themselves or their ego. It just is operating as their main consciousness. The ego is what's possessing them. The inner child is what's possessing them. And that level of consciousness is what is leading the body. You can still consider that a possession. And it's not healthy. Okay. Have you ever met a man that is kind of stuck in his inner child in his 50s or 60s? He is emotionally stuck there. He is emotionally, in what in psychology you call it, what frozen development, don't quote me on that, stunted development. It's like my symbol in spirituality and medical intuition is frozen in time. The person is trapped in the developmental emotional state that they were in a trauma. And you can unfreeze yourself through parts work and soul fragmentation healing. And that's going to be key for men. And men, that's how you find yourself. And then you'll love yourself more. You don't love yourself because you're in the matrix. I'm sorry. I'm just going to be always real with you guys. That's why you don't love yourself, is because you are operating through a part of you that's not true to you. So you find radical self-love and radical self-acceptance when you find you, when you put the pieces of yourself that are fragmented back together. Okay? That's how you find radical self-love. Then you'll start operating out of your higher mind. Then you'll start operating out of your true self. And then you'll be able to say, you know what? It's almost like I found myself and I love me all of a sudden again. Now I have more flow in my money life again. Now I'm able to provide for my kids and my family again. Kind of feeling this. Then you start to love you again. And you'll also start to be brought to more people that resonate with your authentic vibe. A lot of us haven't found our true soulmate or soul tribe yet because you still haven't found your truth and you're still not operating out of it. Okay, you're vibrating in authenticity. So the more authentic you become, the more you begin to attract your soulmates, your soul tribe, because now you're giving off that frequency of what is really true to you. And that's what your team, your soul tribe, your soulmate want. That's what they'll see it in it's like a projector. Okay. So you'll start giving out that frequency of like you. And now your team, your loved ones, now they come to you because you're giving that signal off. You magnetize it to you. So we find radical self-love and radical self-acceptance also through finding the most authentic part of yourself. I think that this is where I'll kind of start concluding here is I see a trend. I got back on Instagram and it's just like our culture is so quick to nip and tuck. We have a nip and tuck culture. And I'm going to say this bleeds into a lot of the younger children being born and not loving their bodies or identifying with the gender in which they were born with. Here's the truth. You choose your body before you come to earth. So even that child, that little boy, chose the boy's body to incarnate through before he was born. So if we start understanding this, and it's why it's so important to put these messages out there, it goes against the church, okay? Because the church is really preaching determinism, which I think is Satanism. The church is saying like the world was created and that's it. It already was and it's going to end, and it's just not true. We're actually creating through presence. All of us. It's a present continuum. And there's infinite paths right now that we can take based on choice. So back to the child, chose the body. He chose to come in as a little boy. What tends to happen is there's soul fragmentation with these children, or there's trauma, or a program was instilled. There's so many different ways we can look at this, but I think each case needs to be looked at with somebody spiritual first. Or you as mom and dad, you may want to ask yourself, if your child's going through this, like, where did my concept of gender influence this child? What's my concept of gender? What's my partner's concept of gender, or whoever the guardian is of the child, and has this influenced the child? So you first look at you as the parents and your concepts of gender and what you projected onto your child. And this can even start in the womb. Okay, so as the baby's in the womb, there may be programs that are starting to be programmed or um, instilled from what the baby is hearing in the mother's womb or through mom. Her beliefs are being, put into the child. Once you've done that, that's the first step. The next step here is helping this child to understand why. Why don't you like your body? And children are so real, they'll tell you. A lot of them will tell you exactly what's going on. They will or give you hints that you can help them to dive. You can guide the child to dive deeper into the understanding of why they don't identify with the gender that they have. Okay, and I want to be very clear. I stand with the LGBTQ community. I want to be very, very clear. But I do feel, as a medical intuitive that sees that we are a very fragmented collective, that we need to first have a process with children into coming back home, coming back into their body that they chose. And I will also claim that a lot of us, even if you're straight or not, you really are supposed to love your temple. You really are. It's so important to love thyself. So it's similar with plastic surgery. Is a lot of times there's a fragment. A lot of times with women, there was a trauma and they split, and that split part of them is operating through them. That makes them not love their body. And it's different from putting makeup on and like doing your nails up and clothes and being creative and expressive. It's really different when you're risking your life for a procedure, which BBLs are like one of the most risky procedures from so many different levels. It's not good for your heart at all. And it's really just not good for you. And so it's like, why risk it for a trend? Sis, he ain't gonna like you before, he ain't gonna like you after either. Straight up. Love you. Okay. And that gets me into almost like privilege. Like, I have pretty privilege and light skin privilege, and I'd be a fool to say I haven't used it like to my advantage and that it's helped me, to walk in pretty. It works. But it also disgusts me because we have this standard for beauty and it's sickening. It's so sickening and it's so divisive, and people are entrained. They're entrained to have a concept of beauty. Check out my Pretty Prophetess podcast. I go more in depth on this. And I mean, it even affects pretty women, like going into the hospital and saying you're in pain when you're pretty. People don't believe you. But back to what is the collective is it rips this concept of beauty, in which it is through diversity. Okay? A path to radical self-love and acceptance is to stop with the trends, especially if they do harm to your own body. If you are really feeling like you don't like you, work with me. I want to help you to love you because I think you deserve to. Part of why we choose our body is actually part of our purpose. If you were born with a body a certain way, that's part of your purpose. If you chose, let's say, the feminine or the masculine to incarnate through, part of your purpose is to master the feminine. If you chose feminine, and part of the masculine is to master the masculine. And regardless if you're straight or not, this has nothing to do with your sexuality at all, actually. It doesn't. I'm talking about radical self-love for your body. When we see in the culture we don't like our bodies and we're told to just go under the knife and fix it right away. And how damaging that is to self and how damaging it is to others. Because I know I've looked in the mirror and I think I've talked about this on YouTube recently, Bruce. It's almost like, my dad doesn't have a booty, my mom doesn't have a booty, I don't have a booty, And even though I've loved myself, because of like seeing so many women with like perfect hourglass bodies, I start judging myself. Oh, I'm top heavy. Oh my God, there's nothing back there. Like maybe I should do more squats. And it's like, if you are trying to love yourself, you have to check yourself when you start spiraling in this direction of like, who are you comparing yourself to? Understand these trends keep us in matrices. That's the beauty matrix. That's the beauty matrix. And it's really a sick matrix. It's something that is twisted. Everything in the third dimension obviously has a duality. It can be good, it can be bad, good and bad, you know. It can be used for a higher or used for a lower. But we're so twisted, and in regards to this concept of like a stencil of what is right, how to live, our sexuality, one stencil, one fits all. Everybody's do this religion or burning, you know, the pits, and it's just not true. The universe supports authenticity. This is a fractal universe, so you are a fractal of our creator. And through that fractal, there's diversity. And through diversity, you find purpose. And with diversity, we need to accept one another. We need to accept Muslims, Americans. We need to accept immigrants, Americans. We need to accept one another. We need to accept Mexicans, Americans. When this was their land, people are so quick with these borders. The natives that lived here originally, they didn't have these borders. It was community through diversity. And we've fallen from it. We say, oh, you can't come in. You need to do this, that, and did it. And they use this excuse of that. It's like just the legal way, right? If you didn't know, immigration in America is very, very difficult. It's a process that's one of the most secure processes in America. It is so secure. It is so secure. It's not a problem. I think that if we were to change immigration, we could loosen laws a bit to make it a little bit more accessible for everybody. And when I've actually heard people speak on like their thoughts on this, I've heard people say we'll lose America if we let certain people in. Newsflash. Let me check you on that as I get off here because Warrior's coming out. This country is great because people come from different places. It is a melting pot. America is great because you have people from Asia, Africa, Australia, Europe, South America, all here. And New York City is probably the best place on, I think, the planet Earth because you see it. You see what America is. Like, definitely in America, New York City is the best. I wouldn't want to live there, but it's the best because it's to me, it's like that's what the flag should be like, is like the New York symbol. That's what our flag should be because, I mean, our flag is actually a really racist symbol. To me, it is. It was created by, you know, with slave hands, and like it just, to me, I don't resonate with it. I do resonate with like the New York symbol because it's just like, obviously I'm from Western New York, but it is like, to me, when I think of America, it's like, that's what our culture is. It's now one culture. If you were to think of really what American culture is and you want to preserve it, you know what it is? It's bologna, hot dog, and processed foods. That's what it is. That's what they're trying to preserve, is like we have a toxic, our culture is not like actual culture. Like our culture is toxic. It needs to change. Everything about our culture is fake. The education system, the religions we follow are man-made. The foods we eat are poison. Okay, you go eat bread in Europe and you don't get bloated. As soon as you come back, you're bloated. Everything about our culture needs to change. And we do that by letting more and more people come and open businesses. And this includes the restaurants. They bring their culture's foods here. And their culture's stores here. Somalia. The Somali population's under attack right now under this cruel regime. But America is America because of what Somalis brought here in their shops and their businesses. I think I saw something where it was like a Somalian, not a food court market. It's completely empty right now. Completely empty because they're so afraid and of what they're doing. But that's what American culture is. So newsflash, culture in America is diverse. It's a place where people can come seek asylum and refuge. It's a place where someone can come and bring their culture and open up restaurants, and we as Americans, can go and be like, this is really good. I love this. We can go see our Muslim brothers and sisters and find love and beauty through Islam. We can go see our Jewish brothers and sisters and find beauty in Judaism. We can go and see our Hindu brothers and sisters and see the beauty through Hinduism, Buddhism, all of these religions. That is what American culture is. So why I got brought on this right now, we're talking about radical self-love and acceptance. I think Spirit wants me to end it with radical self-love and acceptance for all. That's how you find it for you. And if you don't find it for you, you won't have it for someone else. You won't be able to see the beauty in someone else if you don't see the beauty in yourself. Okay? So that's what I've got for you guys. There's no questions. I know I went in on this a little bit, but I'm going to hear your thoughts afterwards. Please like, subscribe, comment, share. And I hope you guys have a good week. And you can also always post your prayer requests if you have them on the video, and I will send a prayer and respond, or you can email me, jojo@jojoempathic.com. I have a live radio show on News for the Soul Radio. I am a host, and my show is called Journeys with JoJo. It's going to air tomorrow, December 24th at noon Central Timing, and I'll be talking about Christmas. Okay, they're going to come for me. I'll be talking about the origins of Christmas. You don't want to miss it. And so if you have holiday blues, I'm going to help you. I want you to love this time of the year because we can all feel it's holy, because it is. So I'm going to help you to uncover the roots of this real holiday so you can get back to your roots and find radical self-love and acceptance for this time of the year. Okay, guys? So tomorrow, noon, News for the Soul, and then I'll be back here on YouTube, 7 p.m. Thursday. See you then.